friends and colleagues around. So I'm going to offer the pitfalls and problems of the psychiatric expert witness. I think it's been only when I was in private practice for the last 5 years that I've done more forensic work, and so I share with you my trials and tribulations. So we're talking about the demands of the psychiatric expert witness, and in particular, I think the reason why Academy has organized this is because we've come under quite a lot of scrutiny. I recall especially Principal Senior State Counsel Bala Reddy's comments that we, especially the private psychiatrists, he would argue, run the risk of being seen as hired guns of defense lawyers. Or he says here that the prosecution usually gets the psychiatric evaluation from IMH, or defense usually shops around for a private psychiatrist. And he points to the fact that many disputes necessitating Newton hearings were resolved only after the defense psychiatrist considered that he had erred in the diagnosis. He also said that we should have a healthy dose of skepticism so that we're not taken in by malingerers, that we should have a clear ethical framework, and this one I think we should really consider as a body like Academy, and the requirement that all psychiatric expert witnesses should be made legally and or professionally accountable for their diagnoses and testimonies in court. And of course, Reddy here says offenders should be diagnosed by the IMH, as the hospital is known to be objective, partial, and willing to stand by its reports. More public scrutiny. We've got the mentioned case, Ong Bang Siu's case, the bus driver. And here, well, interestingly, Reddy comes under scrutiny now, and so the Court of Appeal actually, lays some criticism of his handling of the case. But I think pertaining to the comments about us as psychiatrists, I think there was some mention that the command of Hokkien was an advantage versus the Mandarin-speaking IMH psychiatrists. Interviews with more people, more thoroughness, and comments about the experience, relative experience of the two experts. The last time I addressed the Academy, I was talking about what makes a good psychiatrist. So it begs the question today, what makes a good forensic psychiatrist? What kind of CV that we'll have, what kind of abilities, training, and so forth. So certainly having a strong CV with good credentials is good. It helps that you've got a mega mind, and some legal knowledge is also definitely useful. And then dedication, determination, doggedness, and multicultural awareness, and of course, command of the Hokkien language, we are told, is helpful, by no less than the Court of Appeal. And of course, in the courtroom, one must have eloquence and be able to answer questions when you're put in a spot, lest you don't know.
We don't know what to say.
And of course, because we can be accused potentially of being hired guns, we must be mindful also that it's not for material pursuits. Of course, in case I forget, it helps. So, the tasks of the expert witness. We're here to do forensic assessments. They mentioned we've got to do good clinical interviews, family, informants. We've got a lot to do in terms of gathering and analyzing collateral data. We have a role in terms of ordering some further investigations, psychological tests, working with our psychological colleagues. And then there's the expert opinion. Mention has been made of what is the ideal report. Commenting on others' expert opinions report, because once the AEICs, the affidavits are exchanged, sometimes you have to do a commentary and see your colleagues' comments on your opinions as well. And of course, there's the whole idea of working with the lawyers in terms of preparing the report and the affidavits, which sometimes calls for some holding on to your principles and some discussions as well. And finally, there's the court testimony part. The scope of forensic psychiatry is not just about criminal work. We've got family law. These are the range of cases which I've had to deal with in the past few years. Divorce, child custody, hearings, mental capacity assessments, dealing with estates, the Mental Capacity Act. In the private sector, we probably deal a fair bit more with personal injury and workman's comp issues, post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, quite common. I've also had to deal occasionally with helping colleagues with where it has to do with regulations of psychiatric and medical practice. And if I were to try and encapsulate the main challenge that we have, it would be, I would say, the challenge for us is to be a skilled, responsible, and objective expert witness. Another quote here is that the forensic psychiatrist has a duty to assist the court and should be impartial regardless of who has hired him. No expert wants to go to court and be labeled as not credible, not incredible, not credible. So, I would say that we are calling for an expert and excellent clinician in diagnosis and treatment, because oftentimes you do have to comment on treatment. A lot of the reasons why psychiatrists' opinions are sought nowadays is because of alternative sentencing that the courts are looking for. Knowledge of the law and court procedures is helpful. Experience and training, and of course there's a debate as to the relative value of someone who's fully trained forensic psychiatrist versus experienced clinicians who do court work. But whatever it is, I think the reminder here, the competence bit, is that if you're going to go for it, you better know what you're doing. And it has to do with that good, sound clinical judgment, that experience that has to do with trying to understand the intersections of law and clinical medicine and psychiatry. And it's been mentioned that we must be very aware of what our limitations are. Because a request may come in and you have to decide whether you can take it on or not. The limitations of your experience, right? I know nothing about the subject, but I'm happy to give you my expert opinion. Doesn't hold because you've got to defend that opinion. Because the second mandate, I would say, is that we need to be responsible. Because at the end of the day, we need to do a thorough, complete psychiatric evaluation, and PC will later tell us a little bit about what our community's views are on what constitutes thorough and complete. And we've got to carefully analyze, formulate all of this and put it into a nice, comprehensive report to aid the court ultimately. After all, there's a lot at stake. Because, like in capital offenses, it may mean a matter of life and death. Preparation. By failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So a lot of preparation has to go into this assessment. We want to be thorough and to be complete. We've got to analyze all sorts of data, right? I've on occasion had to analyze suicide notes and other types of collateral information. And of course, the reminder here is that we all have limitations. Whether you're working in IMH or a private psychiatrist, we've all got limits in terms of time, energy, resources. And so, when we're trying to juggle forensic work, sometimes we have to be careful about how much we apportion our time and energies to. And of course,